The last meeting, it was testified that Ms. Benton had made the decision that we could not go to the second bidder. And Mr. Wyatt, you had testified that that was a decision that the Office of State Procurement made, particularly Ms. Benton. So, Ms. Benton, thank you for being here. I wanted you to have the opportunity to be able to answer that, because I see on Exhibit C4, page 41, under negotiations, that state statute, and it clearly states if a satisfactorily negotiated contract cannot be developed, the bidder may be declared non-responsive in time permitting. The negotiation process may be repeated with the next respondent deemed most likely to be awarded the contract. And it was testified last meeting that you were the one that said no, state law will not allow us to go to the second bidder, which was Northrop Grumman, instead of since Meridian was disqualified or had withdrawn.
Thank you, Senator. I was able to go back, and Ms. Thompson was kind enough to pull a file that I had left at the Office of State Procurement, because 3 years ago it's hard to recreate what was said and everything that was done in San Antonio transactions we dealt with, particularly in regard to DHS. I was able to go back through that file and try to recreate as much as I could to be able to answer some of your questions today. When we awarded that contract on October 31st of 2012, my understanding is DHS went into negotiations with the awarded vendor, which was Meridian at that time, doing those negotiations. At that point, Office of State Procurement was not involved. I was contacted most likely, and some of this is estimations based on the notes that I do have, toward the end of January of 2013, that there was a problem negotiating the contract. I'm sure one of the questions that I asked, but again, just recollection, that I would have asked, what has taken so long to get this finished? I also made a note that on 12/18, and that would have been of 12, I didn't write that, but 12/18, that the awarded vendor had switched a lead negotiator, and that had paused some of the negotiations, because we were under the impression it would not have taken that long for 3 months to negotiate, finalize the contract, and get underway to work, because we all knew that there was a very short window to get the project up and running. We met Office of State Procurement and several of us from Office of State Procurement and DHS, administrators, key people like Mr. Wyatt and others. We actually met with the powers of, the people with the awarded vendor that would be able to make decisions on contract negotiations on February 3rd and 4th. In those negotiations, because we knew we had to get off the square one so that they could get the project, because the first deadline for October 1st was limited. We met with them for at least a day and a half, trying to negotiate those points. There were 4 issues regarding the contract that the awarded vendor had a concern about, and the state. Of those 4, we were able to make concessions on 3 of them, but the one hard deadline, which would have been October 1st of 2012, October 1st, 2013, and January 1st, 2014, at this stage of the game in February, they said they could not meet. It was too late. They could have done it back in October when all of this was awarded, but they could not do it at this time. So that's when.
So this is February
2013.
So we're now at 4 months of negotiations. Is that correct?
That's like a little over 3.
And the projects had to be done by October 1, 2013.
That's correct.
So DHS is giving whomever the bidder is only
6 months.
Okay.
I mean, basically over 6 months. When those negotiations stalled and we could not come to an agreement, we all walked away from the table. And we had to, because we knew something had to be done. And going back and trying to recreate some of this, and looking at that, no decision of this magnitude is made in a vacuum. It can't be. It certainly can't be made by just the agency. It can't be made by state procurement. There were discussions. Some of the points I recall somewhere in my notes, but I know we discussed possible options, because I'm sure when we all walked away that day, we said, all of us would have said, now what? What can we do to get this to meet this first SNAP deadline? And certainly a rebid would have been an issue, but we knew it wasn't because of the time. Because